Hatshepsut wasn't supposed to become pharaoh. She became one anyway. She ruled so well that the men that came after her, they spent 20 years trying to erase her from history entirely. They almost pulled it off. Egypt, New Kingdom. Around 1479 BCE, and Hatshepsut, she is the daughter of Thutmose I. Thutmose I, he is one of Egypt's greatest warrior kings. This means that she was raised inside the machinery of power with no hope of ever actually being allowed to hold it, because you had to be male to be pharaoh. That was the rule. That was the way that the universe worked as far as Egypt was concerned. That was the natural order of things. So she does what any royal daughter of Egypt does, and she marries her half-brother, Thutmose II. She is elevated to the second most powerful religious position that a woman in ancient Egypt could hold. She becomes God's wife of Amun. This is not a ceremonial position. This is not decorative. She commands enormous amounts of temple wealth. She has entire staffs that she's overseeing. She's wielding real political influence here. In this scenario, Hatshepsut, she was quite integral to the entire operation of Egypt. Together, Hatshepsut and Thutmose II, they have one daughter, Neferuru. Thutmose II, he has a son with a lesser wife, Thutmose III, that guy. Um, and then Thutmose II, he suddenly dies young. And Hatshepsut just as suddenly finds herself regent for a child that isn't even her own son. And it's supposed to be a really simple job. Hold the throne, keep it warm, step aside when the boy king Thutmose III, when he is ready to take over and rule. So Hatshepsut, she holds the throne for 7 years, and then she decides she wants to keep it. Hatshepsut, she didn't just seize the throne. God's wife of Amun, she completely rewrote her entire origin story. She completely invented divine justification for her rule. And she may have even gone on to have a secret affair with a commoner. And we know this because construction workers, they had opinions about this. They had such strong opinions about this that they left behind scandalous graffiti to let us know about this. 7 years into her regency, Hatshepsut crowns herself pharaoh. Not co-ruler, not queen regent, but the full title, pharaoh. She takes on the full regalia. She takes on the double crown. She takes on the crook and the flail. She even goes and she straps a beard to her chin. And this false beard, this is seen in every official image of her from that point forward. She used feminine grammar to refer to herself, but all of her statues, they showed her as king. Now, Egypt, they just shrugged and they just moved on. So, Hatshepsut, she doesn't just take the throne. She builds a legal and divine case that is so airtight that to challenge her would be to challenge the gods themselves. She commissions reliefs showing the god Amun, the king of the gods, the highest deity in the Egyptian pantheon, coming to her mother in the form of her father, Thutmose I. So this means that she's not just the daughter of this great king, Thutmose I, that she is also the daughter of the god king himself, chosen by Amun. She is chosen before her birth. She is destined to rule. It gets better, though. She has oracles out in the public predicting her ascension, and she ties her legitimacy to Amos. Now, Amos, he is the king who liberated Egypt and founded the New Kingdom. So she has placed herself into this unbroken line of divine rulers. Neferure, if you recall, that is her daughter. She elevates Neferure to her previous positions because now that she's pharaoh, she needs a wife's stand-in. And then there's Senenmut. Senenmut, he is a titleless, landless, connectionless commoner. He enters the royal service out of nowhere, but he rises very quickly. He very quickly becomes the most influential non-royal in all of Egypt. He is the chief steward overseer of the royal works. He is the tutor to Princess Neferure. He is the architect of Hatshepsut's mortuary temple. This man, he's holding over 80 titles. He is even given by the pharaoh herself. He is given her quartzite sarcophagus that was made for her when she was queen, that she doesn't need it anymore. She's pharaoh. Um, He builds 2 tombs. His own burial chamber sits directly beneath Hatshepsut's mortuary temple. He is as close to her in death as he is to her in life. Now, Pharaoh, she even allows him to place his name and his image behind a door in her temple. This is a personal hidden inscription in the house of the gods. Now, the construction workers, they have opinions about this. They left graffiti. This is how we know this. 3,500 years later, archaeologists find in a cave where workers would go to rest throughout the day, they find a quite explicit scene with Pharaoh and a man. Use your imaginations, or don't. um, Sinanmut, he never marries, which is very strange for an Egyptian elite. They are expected to marry. He never has any children. His funerary rites, they are performed by his brother because he doesn't have any sons to do this for him. So, was he her lover? No, I'll leave that up to you. You can decide. What is certain is that Egypt prospered under Hatshepsut's rule. She launched a legendary trading expedition to Punt, which is modern day Somalia. And she returns with incense trees. She's got gold. She's got ivory. She's got exotic animals when she gets back. And she has so much wealth that she can fund her projects for years. Um, the fossilized trees, which we recognize as the world's first transplanted trees, these were such a phenomenon that the stumps, the fossilized stumps, they're still visible at her temple today. She raised 2 obelisks at Karnak, which at the time they were the tallest in the ancient world, and under her hand, Thebes became one of the greatest cities in the ancient world. But what about Tutmos III, the boy king that she replaced? Eventually, she has him commanding her armies. He's very useful to her, and mainly he just stays out of her way. So, for 20 plus years, we have Egypt. We have Hatshepsut, and Hatshepsut, she is Egypt. In her 20 years of rule, Hatshepsut, she built monuments that still stand today. And then someone smashed all of her statues. They chiseled her face off of every wall. They buried her name so thoroughly that historians, they couldn't find her for 3,000 years, even though her temple is still there. Hatshepsut, she died around 1458 BCE, and as best we can tell, she passed from an infection from an abscessed tooth extraction. Her mummy wasn't identified until 2007, and it was identified by matching a molar found in a canopic jar to a mummy that had been in the Cairo Museum for decades. The most powerful woman in the ancient world. She had been sitting in storage, ignored, in the Cairo Museum for about 100 years. Tutmos III, he takes sole power. He rules for about 30 years, and he is commonly recognized as the greatest warrior king Egypt has ever produced. And then suddenly, about 20 years into his reign, about 20 years after Hatshepsut died, um, he starts erasing her. Tutmos III, he has her face chiseled off the wall. He has her name is hacked off of inscriptions. Her statues, some of the greatest in Egypt, they are smashed and they are buried in a pit beside her temple. He takes her obelisks. He doesn't destroy them, but he walls them in with stone so that nobody can see them. And then what Tutmos III does, he takes her accomplishments and he redistributes them. He redistributes them amongst Tutmos I, Tutmos II, and Tutmos III himself. For 3,000 years, Hatshepsut, she was functionally erased. We don't know why Tutmos III waited 20 years. We don't know why he waited 20 years to try and strike Hatshepsut's name and memory from history. It wasn't anger, because if it was anger, why would you wait 20 years? So the prevailing theory is that it was Mot. Mot is the ancient Egyptian belief of cosmic order, that there is a way that things are supposed to be. And under Mot, her success set a dangerous precedent. There was a structural crack in this cosmic order, a woman pharaoh. So Tutmos III, he may have been trying to seal this crack so that nobody could think to use it again in the future. But in secluded corners and non-public places and places that the ordinary person wouldn't think to look, her name is still preserved. In ancient Egypt, the belief is that if you erase somebody's name, you are endangering their soul. You're obstructing their passage through the afterlife. Workers carrying out these orders for erasure, they didn't want to damn her, so they erased her from history, but they left her just enough name to survive eternity. Her temple still stands. It was so admired by the pharaohs that came after her that they wanted to be buried as close to it as possible. So this gave rise to the Valley of the Kings. Her obelisks, they still stand at Karnak. Um, Scholars, when they first started seriously studying the site, they couldn't make sense of it. So we have this statuary of this king, but we have descriptions of a female ruler. But history has its way of keeping receipts.